All right, good morning, Mount Olive Church. It's good to be with you this morning. We missed you yesterday. We were out of town, and we did get back for the student worship last night. What a great service. We would invite anybody to join us with that. Isaiah did a good job with the word, and we had good singing and good altar prayer. So I want to get right with it this morning. Brother Jody did a great job yesterday. The Lord used him in a great way to talk about the four anchors in the time of the storm. And so we pick up the story in Acts in chapter 27. Paul he's been arrested. He's in the charge of the Roman government, and he's on a Roman sea vessel, which has cargo, sailors, soldiers, and he's on his way to Rome to stand in trial before Caesar. And so, as he's going there, we note that in this chapter that a major storm comes, and Brother Jody spoke about that. And the storm is a life-threatening storm, and so it says it's no small tempest. And among the people on the ship, all hope had been lost that they would be saved. And so they're throwing off the cargo and they're doing all these things. And so Paul is on this ship, and Paul comes and Paul speaks to them. And this is where we get our devotion from this morning, verse 22 and 23. And now I exhort you, I encourage you, Paul says, be of good cheer, have hope. Have hope. Aren't you glad that in Christ we have hope today? I don't know what's coming your way on this Monday, but we have hope. He says, for there shall be no loss of any man's life among you, but we're going to lose the ship, verse 23. Again, Acts 27, verse 22. Verse 22. There'll be no loss of any man's life among you, but we're going to lose the ship. And look what he says in verse 23. For there stood by me this night the angel of God, whose I am and whom I serve. That's very important this morning. You see, there's two things out of this devotion I want you to take with you. Paul, in the middle of the storm, found stability, the anchor stability, and two foundational facts. He said, I remember who I am, and I remember whose I am. Who I am, whose I am. And so I remember a lot of times when my kids would go to the primary school or middle school, I would ask them, I would say, on your way to school, who are you? And they would say, I'm a McAmus. And then I would say, well, whose are you? And they would say, God's. To me, that was important for them to know their identity. They're carrying our last name, the McAmus name, wherever they go. And so they need to be reminded that that should govern what they do, and that should give them the encouragement and confidence to be who they can be. And then I wanted them to remember whose they were. They were God's. They were in God's care, in God's hand. God would watch over them. God would put his favor on them. God would bless them. And God would carry them. And so that's what Paul's saying. I know who I am. I'm God's. I'm a child of God. And I know whose I am. I know who he is. And I know that he'll get me through this storm according to his will. And so I think that's important on this Monday morning. I want us to be reminded who I am. I am a born-again believer. The old life has been put into the grave. A new life has started through Christ. I'm born again. I am a joint heir with Christ. I am a blood-bought son of God. Now that should govern how I behave today. That should give me confidence. You see, if I'm a born-again believer, child of God, heir, joint heir with Christ, then I should have affirmation over anxiety. I should have peace over my problems. I should have faith over my fear. And so that's because of who I am, a son and daughter of God. I am of the royal priesthood, a chosen nation, a peculiar people. But also I need to be reminded of whose I am. I am the possession of the Most High God. His hand is over me. His ear is inclined unto me. His arm is outstretched for me. He's the God of the Old Testament who reminded them who they were and whose they were. He said, I am the God of Jacob and Isaac, and you are mine. I have called thee by name. When you walk through the fires, you'll not be burned. When the waters will not overtake you. He reminded them in the Old Testament who they were and whose they were. Paul was reminded in the midst of a storm that gave him stability and hope who he was and whose he was. And this morning, let us be reminded at Mount Olive Church who I am. It governs my behavior, but it also encourages me, gives me confidence. And be reminded whose I am, the God of heaven and earth, the God of angel armies, who set his eyes upon you, and he'll bring his care for you and his favor and his blessings. Join us Wednesday night, because we will